Welcome to a brand new deep dive. We've got quite a stack of source material today.
Yeah, it looks like excerpts from a PDF,
Hmm.
and it just drops us right into this world. Loads of political intrigue, different kinds of magic, diverse places.
And some really intense personal journeys woven through it all.
Exactly. It feels a bit sprawling at first, pieces scattered all over.
So our mission today is to really dig into these pages. We want to connect the dots between the key players, the places, understand these strange forces at work.
And figure out what's actually important in this whole complex picture, using just what these sources give us.
Think of us as your guides, helping you see the forest and the trees and all this. Okay, let's dive right in because these sources, they don't waste any time.
No, they really don't. It opens with this incredibly immediate, brutal scene. A sudden attack right on a porch.
Yeah, and the attackers, descriptions are vivid. A small man in black and this like 7-foot giant.
And they just dismantle the guards. Shocking ease, really. The little guy uses bare hands, snapping necks, crushing throats.
While the giant, well, he has this massive 8-foot sword, severing legs, cutting a man almost in half, just throws the last guard against a bar, back broken.
What struck me right away wasn't just the violence, but how effortless it seems for them. Almost casual.
Totally. It's a display of power that feels, yeah, casual is the right word. And the contrast, the sources point out, is fascinating.
You mean the magistrate?
Exactly. In the middle of all this chaos, there's this magistrate just observing, completely still, the source says, not even the hems of his robe moving.
Which makes you wonder immediately, right? What's their power source?
Mm.
Or are they connected to the attackers? Why just watch?
Mm-hmm. And from that really visceral scene, the sources pivot pretty quickly. Different kind of conflict, more dialogue-based tension.
Lord Orlin, talking to the demonstrating commander, he sounds distressed, talking about children, socialization.
Right, how he loved them, understood them, helped them with things they wouldn't discuss with other adults.
And the magistrate's response is just chilling. She tells him everyone in the castle will be remembered for abetting him.
And then that line, the children are not afraid anymore. Oof.
Yeah. Orlin seems resigned, thinks the king wants a quiet execution. But he also notices the magistrate seems afraid, even with 10 magic soldiers around her.
It definitely hints at something deeper. Maybe Orlin knows something about the king or about the magistrate's power that scares her. It feels like more than just an arrest.
Feels like there's history there. Blackmail, maybe?
Could be. So this Lord Orlin clearly tangled up in something personal and dark, potentially involving the king himself.
And from that sort of contained drama, the sources zoom out. Big picture time, geopolitics.
An emperor, yeah. Making this big decision to move his 4 princes, sends them off to islands.
Specifically because he's afraid they're conspiring against him.
He uses that poetic line. It's something about waves and sand.
With time, the waves of desire will always flatten the sands of the earth. Kind of ominous.
Yeah. The islands are beautiful, princes are happy at first, but the text notes the emperor knows his sons. They're restless.
So, future trouble brewing on that front. Sets up this larger, unstable political background.
And then finally, in these opening bits, we get our first look at a protagonist's journey. A narrator, who we later learn is Galen.
Arriving by ship, he's labeled a dangerous criminal.
But he's saved. Captain's actions, some papers from a stranger, and there's that cool detail about the ship.
Moved by mages. Which tells you magic isn't just for fighting or court stuff, it's part of the infrastructure, daily life.
Right. It establishes this key character, Galen, and his immediate problem. We also get his inner thoughts, his grandmother saying.
See the good in everything, and the best of it will find you. Nice touch.
And the crew. Strange but caring. It grounds this big world in a relatable personal experience, even amidst danger.
Okay, so let's shift focus. Head to the capital city, Cathedian, the seat of power.
Yeah, the sources paint a great picture of the royal parade for King Wilhelm's return.
Sounds like a huge deal. Big popular reception, crowds cheering, showing love and gratitude.
The parade itself is described with amazing detail. Heroes, governors, artists, and those 14 black stallions pulling the king's float.
Plus the crown ivory and black glass. Definitely a show of popularity and power.
But then the mood shifts, doesn't it, as they enter the white square?
Totally. Music fades, dancers stop, proceed in solemn prayer. Everyone goes quiet.
As the king approaches the statue of St. Tysz, Voulhire's founder, first king, dynasty lasted 700 years before falling.
That shift from celebration to reverence is really telling. Highlights the weight of history, tradition in Voulhire.
Reminds everyone of the kingdom's origins, maybe the fragility of power, even for this king who's apparently ruled for ages.
And the gifts being presented, wine, animals, silk, tobacco, they underscore the king's role in the kingdom's wealth. The merchants explicitly say he led them to prosperity.
Okay, so step inside the palace now. The atmosphere changes again, much more politically charged.
And we meet Chancellor Midias Mito right away.
What a description. Eyes of desire and disdain. That dragging tongue thing.
Yeah, he immediately feels like a character you're meant to distrust, or at least watch very closely.
And his style. So bold. Kisses the hand of a pretty southerner, but then thuds the king on the shoulder.
And immediately challenges him. You didn't plan on starting without me, Your Majesty? Right off the bat.
That tells you a lot. He's not just a loyal advisor, he's asserting himself, maybe testing the king after his absence.
And you see the dynamic with the other advisors instantly. Nartek's quick, witty comeback about the king's appetite.
A subtle deflection of Mato's jab.
But then you have the vice-chancellor, Indara Naila, older, wiser, served Mato's father. Her focused gaze suggests she sees right through these power games.
Things really heat up at the banquet, though.
Mato, stirring the pot again, publicly asks why Prince Darius, the king's only son, isn't there.
You can feel the tension. The king braces himself for embarrassment.
But Nartek jumps in, uses magic to command the music, the dancers, redirects everyone's attention.
Which is fascinating, right? Magic as a political tool, controlling the narrative, protecting the king.
And Nartek's performance itself. Green flame shaping Voulhire, this patriotic speech.
Asking rhetorical questions about Voulhire's success, why its people achieve so much, and the answer,
Dance. It's unexpected. Suggests this energy, maybe even magical expression, is core to the Voulhirian spirit, their success. Magic is deeply woven into statecraft identity.
So after that public display, the king and his advisors get down to brass tacks. More serious political stuff.
The status of immigrants from the lands of the princes comes up. They're seen as a potential resource for the emperor.
That phrase resource sounds pretty cold, like they could be used as pawns.
Definitely. And the sources note Voulhire can't interfere right now, suggests limits to Wilhelm's power or maybe strategic choices.
And this discussion seems to lead straight to the decision about Lord Eldest Alderman.
Right. Wilhelm picks Eldest, specifically noted as a litigator.
A lawyer.
Not a military guy, to be the new Lord of Hillport, this southern town. And the advisors, especially Indara Naila, seem a bit confused. She points out hundreds of military minds are already holding Meldorath on Lorcia's Isle. What's a lawyer going to find?
It's a great question posed right there in the text. Why send a lawyer?
And the king's reply is just answers, perhaps.
Which screams hidden motive, doesn't it? He's not just sending Eldest to govern, he's sending him to uncover something specific.
Something tied to Meldorath, even though Meldorath is supposedly locked up somewhere else.
Okay, let's follow that thread. Let's leave the capital's grandeur and head south to Hillport. See what Eldest finds there.
The sources don't paint a rosy picture initially. An inspector later calls it a prison.
Eldest arrives, finds the people wary, described as weary people who are willing to at least listen.
But his background as a lawyer helps. He speaks to them personally, like addressing a jury, not like some distant lord. Connects with them.
And he tackles their immediate problems head on, those terrible cobblestones.
Proposes writing to Mayor Malcolm of Magnum Caelum. Interesting link there. We hear about that city later.
He talks about leveraging local shipbuilders, northern lumber, making bigger ships, even starts a personal stipend campaign for lobster export.
These are practical, tangible things. And it works. The people get excited. I want it, as you say.
Shows Eldest building trust through action, not just authority. Big contrast to the court politics.
Then we get a look at Hillport Castle. Renovated. Eldest's wife, Charlotte, notes it's lovely, but the newness just highlights why it needed cleaning.
And Marcius, Eldest's son, spots a man stain right away. Says the servants think Meldorath is dead.
That man stain feels symbolic, trauma left behind. And the castle's history is clearly key.
Marcius explains it using that blue flame magic. Reminds his sister Isla of childhood awe.
And he reveals Magistrate Meldorath did unethical magic experiments there. Vague, but sounds bad.
And Lord Orlan, the guy from the beginning, knew about Meldorath's nature, but had his own monstrosities, his own secrets.
So Orlan blackmailed Meldorath. They cooperated for a time within the castle walls.
But it ended suddenly, maybe a disagreement. Marcius describes Meldorath storming the castle alone.
Using magic that didn't need movement? That sounds powerful, unsettling, very different from Nartek's dancing magic.
And Marcius adds another layer, King Wilhelm. Friends with Meldorath for years, but never trusted him. feared him.
Which is why the king delayed Meldorath's bid for lordship, even after he seemed to take control of the castle.
So the king and Meldorath, a really complex relationship. Friendship, fear, distrust, all mixed up in politics.
Eldest starts digging for answers about all this. Talks to Beverly, maybe a castle worker.
She warns him off. Says digging up the past risks the peace. Her own deal working there depended on Meldorath being dead.
Yeah, raises immediate doubts about Meldorath actually being dead.
Eldest also reads Orland's diary. It starts about town stuff but loses focus. Ends with that chilling line.
I can't stop him, he's everywhere.
Super unsettling. Everywhere? What does that mean? Not physically confined or some kind of pervasive influence. Leaves a strong sense of Meldorath's presence.
And the personal toll shows too. Eldest have nightmares, bleeding woman, chest pain. Isla dreams of a man with crazy eyes smiling.
The past and present conflicts are clearly weighing on them psychologically.
We also see the family dynamics. Marcius and Isla talking about Hillport's potential. Marcius wants to get the youth involved, maybe build a hockey rink.
Isla notices cultural differences, asks about old jokes from Solhire about their hair color, how people in Hillport don't make them. She resolves to love the place anyway.
And Marcius has that interesting line. Mastery requires intimacy. Intimacy requires passion. Feel like it applies to magic, skill, maybe even governing.
But just as Eldest is settling in, danger arrives. Big time.
He spots an army from the battlements, uses his telescope, sees distinctive pheasant feathers and dancing soldiers.
Realizes it's the Riva Rojavi. Connects back to that earlier mention.
And the attack begins. And Marcius. Wow. Unexpected intervention. Uses biomagic.
Kills a dancing Riva soldier, saying, I didn't get to finish. Eldest is completely shocked. His son has this hidden power.
And this whole section ends with a bombshell. A portfolio arrives. Addressed directly to Eldest.
Signed, your true benefactor, Dalahai Meldorath.
Inside, a note calling Eldest's trust in the king and Voulhire a folly. Then the paper just bursts into flames.
Whoa. Okay, so Meldorath is alive, active, knows about Eldest, and is actively working against the king who sent Eldest there.
Completely reframes Eldest's mission. He wasn't just sent to govern. He was sent into a situation Meldorath seems to fully understand, maybe even manipulate it.
Totally changes the meaning of the king's answers, perhaps. Eldest was sent for answers, but Meldorath's giving them, and they contradict the king.
Right. Okay, let's switch tracks again. Follow Galen Bray, our other main perspective character. See what he encounters.
He gets to Magnum Calum, gets keys and gold from Mayor Malcolm. Remember, Eldest planned to write to him. Little connection there.
Tries knocking at the inn.
And gets laughed at. He's knocking. Simple detail, but shows he's an outsider, doesn't know the local customs.
Finds his uncle's house, plays with a gas lamp. A moment of simple wonder.
Then his journey takes him to Alcovia. Looks different from Magnum Calum. And he sees something shocking.
The foreman mistreating workers. Yelling, cursing, kicking them. Galen is appalled.
Confused, too. Wonders if it's a land of cowards because nobody fights back.
Big culture clash moment for him. He comes from somewhere workers were treated with gratitude. This cruelty shakes him.
Challenges his worldview. He meets a mage there, though. An interesting encounter.
Yeah, the mage is impressed by Galen's pure goals. Gives him a sample of lactis ore.
Lactis! Sounds fascinating. White, reflective like glass, stronger than steel. Galen senses depths in it. Feels important, maybe magical.
When Galen buys more, the miner says the sample was free, pay for the labor. Galen pays generously for both.
And the miner mentions Hillport people see gratitude as weakness. They just chirp. Thank you. Another pointer to these regional differences in values.
Then the source jumps to Mine C. A biomage attack. Blue light, guards dodging, explosions taking out columns, a chase.
Biomagic again, but used for chaos and destruction this time. Different from Marcius's defense or the old man's attack. Shows different applications.
And that violence seems to really get to Galen. He has this vivid dream.
About the foreman from Alcovia. But in the dream, his knife fails him, and Rowan's shadow appears.
Telling him you'll never do it that way. He wakes up feeling shame, but also desire. He's struggling.
Yeah, struggling to hold on to his identity, his pure goals when faced with this brutality, and maybe his own darker impulses.
That dream feels crucial. Rowan's line implies Galen's current approach, maybe his naivety, isn't enough for what lies ahead.
His journey continues to Yamansol, the holy city, restricted district, Val Eve.
Visits the chantry, sees this powerful mural of God. The artist had to convince priest Bartris to get permission from the EO head of the church.
The mural shows God ruling Chronomentis and Caramentis.
Those names sound big. Chronomentis is time-space. Caramentis is order by madness. fundamental cosmic forces or realms.
Seems like it. The mural apparently has a strong effect on people.
We meet Priest Bartres. Seems accessible, insightful, talks about free will versus God's plan.
Says he only make the rules, don't enforce them. Suggests the church isn't overly rigid, maybe.
In Yammon Soul, Galen meets Demetrius, scholarly monk, an imbuer.
Demetrius immediately sings the depths in the Lactosaur, reinforcing its special nature. Says analysis will take weeks. Suggests it's complex stuff. What's an imbuer, though?
Sources don't spell it out, but scholarly monk plus imbuer. Maybe someone who works with the inherent properties of materials, infuses them with magic or knowledge. Seems likely.
Demetrius is immediately skeptical of Rowan, though.
Yeah, thinks Rowan is up to something, not acting like a proper executor. And ironically, Demetrius doesn't trust priests or monks much himself. Hints at internal church politics, maybe.
Rowan's character gets fleshed out more, too. His reason for being away from Soulhire, nailed his pretty little daughter. Seems like code for a feud with her father forcing him out.
His views on gratitude sees it as weakness, total contrast to Galen. And he's very interested in the forge business Galen wants to set up. Practical motives there.
Then he gets that unsettling message from Soulhire. More mystery about his past. Demetrius observes Rowan seemed desperate not to go back.
And Demetrius' final thought.
Yeah.
Men like Galen are rare. Implies most people are more cynical, self-interested, highlights Galen's uniqueness, or maybe his naive hopefulness.
Okay, let's bring in some of the really mysterious threads now, see how they might connect.
We revisit the old man Biomash from that first courtroom attack.
He's imprisoned, and we learn biomagic is widely feared, banned by church and state agreement, forbidden even to doctors, rumors of reanimation.
Which explains the fear. Potential necromancy, manipulating life itself. Very taboo.
This fear sets the stage for Sidon's appearance. A warrior with space magic can bend space. Teleporting, basically.
Sidon appears right in the Biomag's cell. The Biomag asks, is it done? Sidon confirms.
Clearly links Sidon to a mission for the Biomag. Shows the Biomag has allies, influence, even locked up.
The Biomag wants to go to Hillport himself. Tells Sidon not to rob me of my fun. That easily escapes. Takes out the sergeant. He's powerful.
And this sequence explicitly links the old man Biomag, the spacebender Sidon, and Hillport.
Confirmed later when Sidon shows up at Hillport Castle. Uses his space magic to attack, teleporting, cutting throats. Precise, deadly. Different magic style again.
Then we meet Beth, a traveler from another universe called Caramentus.
She escaped that world, her body changed on arrival. Describes Caramentus as a mind control world. This world, she says, has walls to hold on to.
Suggests this world has more stable physical reality, maybe resistance to mental influence. Or just values the tangible, and where does she arrive?
Meldorath's house, on an island. Almost certainly Lorcia's Isle, where he was supposedly held.
Beth's arrival introduces other dimensions, unstable gateways, bodies needing to be realized in a new reality. Huge implications.
Her meeting with the shadowy lord in the Dark Manor, revealed to be Meldorath, is key. She explains the gateway stuff.
Meldorath shares his view. King condemned him, name tarnished. Refuses to give his name until it's cleared.
This firmly links Beth, Caramentus, interdimensional travel, Meldorath, his exile, and his deep resentment.
The sources also introduce Odaimar, the Dark City, strange place.
Yeah, no tourists or pilgrims, barter system, weird tax breaks from Soulhire. But somehow it got rich overnight, despite appearances.
Suggests it operates outside normal rules, hidden source of wealth or power, and the secret beneath the city.
A man who likes to dance. And his army. Immediately connects to the Riva dancing theme and Nartek's magic. Riva agents are also gathering intel there.
And that connection becomes explicit. Voulhire of the Greylands arrives dramatically in Ardiamor, challenges Mado, linking Mado to this city too.
Asks why Mado is sniffing secrets there. Then telemages panic. What are telemages?
Based on the context panic, reporting probably mages specializing in communication, long-range information.
Makes sense. They report Voulhire has joined the Riva Rojavi, makes the Riva an even bigger threat, now linked to this Greylands figure.
And this ties back to that earlier detail about the Riva and the Greylands. Remember the patrol finding pheasant feathers?
Yeah, leading to discovering armor and a head. Then they get attacked by figures using biomagic and wearing feathers.
Raises questions. What happened to the person in the armor? And what force uses both Riva symbols and biomagic?
Okay. Wow, lots of threads. Let's try to pull them together. What does this all mean? How do these disparate stories intersect?
Well, what's really fascinating as you piece it together is how Meldorath keeps popping up. He seems central.
Absolutely. His history with Orlin and Wilhelm, that's the root of the Hillport conflict. His imprisonment links to Lorcia's Isle, the king's motives for Eldis.
His escape? Maybe tied to the old man Biomage in Sidon? His meeting with Beth connects him to other dimensions, maybe that Lactus or Galen found.
And that note to Eldis, directly confronting the king's narrative. He's not just history, he's a present danger connecting so many plot lines.
Meanwhile, the Rivero Javi are the clear physical threat emerging in these sources.
Connected to symbols, those pheasant feathers. Locations, Greylands, Odiamar, Hillport, individuals like Ball are joining them.
And that specific, unsettling, magic-style dancing biomagic seems different from Meldorath's quiet power or the old man's raw force.
Characters like Galen and Eldis act as our eyes and ears, right? Our way into this complex world.
Galen navigating cultural shocks, brutality, strange magic, his own inner conflict. Eldis facing political deception, dark history, direct threats, trying to bring order and find truth.
And Voulhire itself.
Oh.
It's definitely not simple. You've got the surface structures, king, court, church, cities.
But underneath, hidden forces,
Yeah.
dangerous magic users like the Biomage and Sidon, possible influences from other dimensions like Caramentus.
Wildly different economic realities, too. Wealthy Githidian, struggling South Shore, that mysteriously rich secret city Odiamar.
Plus clashing philosophies, Priest Bartrus on free will, Rowan's cynicism, Nortic's belief in dance as Voulhire's spirit.
This deep dive really hammers home that theme of hidden realities, doesn't it?
For sure. What you see on the surface, the parade, the renovated castle, the quiet town, it often hides much deeper histories, political games, dangerous activities happening just out of sight.
And the relevance for you, the listener trying to make sense of it all, is that understanding any complex system, fictional or real, means looking deeper.
Connecting those seemingly random events, understanding the history behind the present, knowing different powers and ideas are competing.
And realizing hidden motives and unseen forces can completely change the game.
It's been quite a journey through these excerpts, layers upon layers of magic, politics, personal struggles.
Indeed. The sources give us these tantalizing glimpses, painting a picture of a kingdom facing threats from within, without, maybe even beyond.
And they leave us with a really compelling final question, tying back to Eldis.
Right. King Wilhelm sent Eldis to Hillport for a blockade, and answers, likely about Meldorath, supposedly held nearby.
But Meldorath's note calls Eldis's trust in the king and Voulhire a folly, explicitly.
So if Meldorath, the guy Eldis is meant to be investigating, says the king can't be trusted, what secrets is King Wilhelm keeping?
From his own lords, like Eldis. And what does that imply about the real stability, the fundamental trust within Voulhire itself?
Something to definitely chew on as you think about everything we've uncovered today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.